The message came at 11:17 p.m. We no longer trust you. We're done. Forever. No explanation. No context. Just finality. I stared at the screen for a long time. A year ago, that text would have shattered me. I would have called immediately, apologized for things I wasn't even sure I did, tried to piece together what invisible rule I had broken this time. Instead, I typed one word. Understood. I didn't add a question mark. I didn't add a plea. I didn't add an apology. Don't miss out on the journey. Subscribe and let's grow, laugh, and learn together. I set my phone down and went to bed. That's what surprised them. The next morning, there were no frantic follow-ups from me. No "can we talk?" No emotional essays. Just silence. By noon, my mom sent another text. So that's it. I didn't respond. Because here's what they didn't realize. You can't threaten abandonment once someone has already learned how to survive it. For years, trust in our family meant obedience, agreement, silence when something felt unfair. I had finally started setting boundaries, small ones at first, saying no to last-minute demands, refusing to share private details about my finances, declining to attend gatherings where I was constantly criticized. Apparently, that made me untrustworthy. When I didn't chase after them, the tone shifted. Dad called 3 days later. "You're really just going to accept this?" he demanded. "You said you were done forever." I replied calmly. "I'm respecting your decision." "That's not what we meant." "Then what did you mean?" Silence. Because what they meant was, "We want you to panic. We want you to feel guilty. We want you to come back smaller." But I wasn't smaller anymore. "I'm not fighting you," I said evenly. "But I'm also not begging to stay where I'm not trusted." That conversation ended quickly. Weeks passed. The distance gave me clarity. I realized how often forever had been used in my childhood. "You'll never make it. You'll always disappoint us. We're done if you keep acting like this." Forever was their favorite weapon. But forever only works if the other person is afraid of it. I wasn't. Then, about a month later, something happened they didn't expect. I changed my emergency contact forms. I updated my will. I removed them from medical decision authority. Not dramatically. Quietly. Legally. If they were done forever, I took them at their word. When my mom found out through a routine form she had once had access to, she called in a panic. "You replaced us?" "Yes," I said simply. "We're your parents. And you said you were done forever." There it was. The shift. For the first time, they realized words have weight. Final declarations have consequences. "I didn't think you'd take it that seriously," she admitted. "I did. Because I've learned something most people don't realize until too late. When someone repeatedly threatens to leave, they're testing how much you'll tolerate." I stopped tolerating. Months later, we met in person. No shouting. No theatrics. "We were angry," Dad said. "We felt like you were shutting us out." "I was setting boundaries," I replied. "There's a difference. Trust," I explained, "isn't control. It isn't access to every detail of my life. It isn't obedience. If they wanted a relationship, it would be adult to adult. Respect to respect. No more dramatic ultimatums. No more forever threats." And this time they listened. Not perfectly. Not instantly. But differently. That original text, "We're done forever," was meant to scare me. Instead, it clarified something powerful. You can't lose people who only stay when you're afraid. When I replied, "Understood," I wasn't accepting rejection. I was accepting reality. And once you do that, fear loses its leverage. They thought I would fight to keep them. What they didn't realize is this. I had already learned how to let go. After that meeting, things didn't magically become perfect. There were still awkward pauses on phone calls. Still moments where old habits tried to sneak back in, subtle guilt, passive-aggressive comments, hints that I used to be more open. But something fundamental had shifted. They no longer used dramatic ultimatums, because they knew I would accept them. That changed the power dynamic entirely. A few weeks later, my mom tried testing the waters again. "You've been distant," she said carefully. "We just miss how close we used to be." We were close when I agreed with everything, I replied. That's not closeness. That's compliance. She didn't argue. And that was new. My dad, who used to dominate conversations, began asking questions instead of making declarations. Small ones at first. How's work? Are you feeling okay? Not interrogations. Just curiosity. Trust, I realized, wasn't broken because I set boundaries. It was broken because they were used to control. And when control disappeared, they interpreted it as betrayal. Over time, I made one thing clear. Respect wasn't negotiable anymore. If a conversation turned manipulative, I ended it calmly. If accusations resurfaced, I disengaged. No drama. No yelling. Just consistency. It forced them to adjust. One evening, my dad admitted something quietly. When you didn't react to that text, it scared us. Why? I asked. Because we realized you didn't need us the way we thought. That was the truth hiding underneath everything. They were afraid of losing relevance. But fear doesn't justify emotional threats. Months later, our relationship felt different. Not warmer, necessarily, but healthier. There was space. There were limits. There was mutual awareness that words like forever couldn't be thrown around casually anymore. The most unexpected part? I wasn't angry anymore. That single word, understood, had done more than protect me. It forced clarity. It ended the cycle of dramatic rupture followed by desperate repair. If they chose to stay in my life now, it would be because they wanted a relationship, not leverage. They once said they were done forever. What they didn't expect was that I was finally okay with that. And that's what changed everything. A year later, our relationship looks nothing like it used to, and that's a good thing. We don't talk every day. We don't overshare. There are no dramatic ultimatums hanging in the air. What we have now is steadier. Intentional. The biggest difference? They think before they text. That may sound small, but it isn't. There are no more "we're done forever" messages sent in anger. No more emotional grenades tossed into my evening just to see how fast I'll run to defuse them. If something bothers them, they bring it up directly. Calmly. Sometimes awkwardly, but directly. And I do the same. I've learned that boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They let respect in and keep manipulation out. When my mom starts slipping into old patterns, guilt-laced comments or subtle digs, I don't explode. I simply say, that doesn't work for me. And if it continues, I end the call. The first few times, it shocked them. Now, it's understood. My dad admitted recently, we didn't realize how often we used fear to keep control. That sentence mattered. Not because it erased the past, but because it acknowledged it. There's still distance. Some wounds don't disappear, they scar. But scars don't bleed anymore. They're reminders, not active pain. What surprised me most is how much calmer I feel. I no longer wait for the next dramatic message. I no longer rehearse defenses in my head. I no longer interpret every silence as punishment. When they text now, it's usually normal. Ordinary. How was your week? Saw something that reminded me of you. Human things. And if they ever send another, "we're done forever" message, I would still respond the same way. Understood. Not because I don't care,